mystery. No one can give me an answer.
First time joining us, or if it's your 1000th time joining us, we're going to do a simple welcome to each other. So instead of call and response, it's going to come up here on the screen. We're going to look at somebody that you did not come with and simply say this: welcome to unity. Where love is taught.
Welcome to unity.
Yes, where it's felt. It's up here. Thank you very much. Truth is taught. Somebody new. Look at somebody new. Where lives are transformed. Here's my favorite. All is well as we express the Christ within. All right, everybody, welcome to Unity.
Sometimes when the planet moves behind the sun and there's nothing on the ground but sand, the electromagnetic spectrum's gotten out of hand. Something's up and you know it. Physics can't account for what's taking shape now, and you know it. Oh, oh, oh. Sometimes when the clock is blinking red and the roar of engines comes back on, in the middle of the night, this could be the last one. Something's up and you know it. Physics can't account for what's taking shape now, and you know it. Oh, oh, oh. Wake up in the morning sun, taking in the perfection of everything. Wake up in the morning sun, alive. Wake up in the morning sun, taking in the perfection of everything. Wake up in the morning sun, alive. Oh. Wake up in the morning sun, taking in the perfection of everything. Wake up in the morning sun, alive. Wake up in the morning sun, taking in the perfection of everything. Wake up in the morning sun, alive. Wake up in the morning sun, wake up.
this time, we're going to welcome Hank up for our opening prayer.
Join me as we pray together. We indeed wake up this morning to the potential that is in each one of us, through the Christ presence that lives in each one of us and expresses through us. We wake up to all things new. We wake up to opportunities that we haven't come in contact with yet, but we welcome them and we bring them into our life, knowing that we'll deal with them with ease and with grace and with love. We acknowledge that there's only one power and one presence in the universe and in our lives, and that is God, who is good, and that God is a part of us and we are a part of God. Therefore, we are good, and we are the ones who express the love and the peace and the joy and the kindness and the goodness on this earth. We go forth throughout this service knowing that this is the place we are to be, and knowing that we are here to serve as we leave this place later today. All of these things we acknowledge in and after the nature of Jesus the Christ, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Hank. So many of us know Hank. I asked Hank for a fun fact because he's been here many, many times. And the fun fact is Hank is actually his nickname. His given name is Glenn. All right. I told him Hank has a nice little zinger. So what we're going to do is there's a bit of truncated announcements because we have a special moment that's happening today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get us through the announcements and then pass the mic to Gabe Coleman, our board member on duty. Before we get anything started, we already got it started with Sam and Lucy. Thank you so much for being here today. Yes, as always, when they're here, the music just is so much a part of the vibration of love. And if you're interested in supporting Sam and Lucy, they are selling CDs out in the foyer area, so please support them. The other thing I want to acknowledge is you saw Jackie Tatum up here. So as we know here at Unity, prayer is an essential practice. And so I've done it many, many times actually. After service, our prayer chaplain, our prayer partner is available in this room right here just to kind of, get the prayer going. And so Jackie, as well as anybody who's doing the prayer partner for that day, they're preparing the space for our arrival, and they continue to pray through the service. And so thank you, Jackie. And we also got Alejandro. I want to do a quick plug because and I also want to acknowledge we have our board member of duty, Gabe Coleman, you'll hear from, and my name is Ryan Hope Travis. I go by RHT. I am the Sunday service leader. Okay, a couple of brief announcements. The most important one is this. Do we have any first-time visitors here? All right, thank you so much. So we got like a little packet for you. So just know that we understand that you could have been anywhere, and so we welcome you and we thank you for joining us. So anybody here for the 1,000th time? Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, y'all. So without any further ado, the second announcement is we have a lot of activities happening here at Unity. We encourage you to check out our newsletter or even go to our website. Everything from Qigong to classes to reading groups. So we do have a lot of exciting activities. Without any further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to Gabe Coleman.
Okay, so we just wanted to announce, Carla, come on up, that you've been asked by, Carla's been asked by UWM to continue her spiritual evolution to become an ordained Unity minister. And so today we're celebrating her decision to accept even more training, which can only be beneficial to our church community.
The roses are for temporary, for short-term beauty and celebration, and we thought of the orchid, the plant, for the idea of endurance and more secured, more long-term. Do I dare say eternal? Plants can be long-living.
That being a spiritual leader was really not on my radar anywhere, but all of a sudden it fell into place. It just like a slot, and so I'm so happy to be here. And the thing that keeps me going is when I look at you, and you guys have no idea that you take my breath away, and I'm so grateful.
Thank you, Carla. We are so excited for Carla, okay? Pretty soon we're gonna say Reverend Carla, I don't know, however you, Rev, that'll be what I call it. What's up, Rev? So we're so excited for you, Carla. Thank you for everything that you've done for us in the past, future, and present to usher us into like this new vibration of love. So thank you for everything. And we're so excited for you. We're so excited. We're gonna shift gears into our daily word, and then we'll have a song. So our daily word is this: wonder. Can we say wonder? Wonder. Our affirmation is this: I view my life through eyes of wonder. Can we say that? I view my life through eyes of wonder. That comes from Acts 3:10. That says, they were filled with wonder and amazement at what had happened to him. So here's our daily word. I feel inspired watching a young child discovering new things, eyes wide with awe and wonder. Even the smallest experiences, feeling the tickle of a butterfly on the skin or blowing the seeds of a dandelion, are a marvel and joy. I think of this when disappointing life experiences chip away at my sense of awe and appreciation. Today, can we say today? We let go of disillusionment and open our heart. Today, we let go of disillusionment and open our hearts and eyes to once again live in wonder. As I view life anew, I renew my belief in the goodness of life and all people. I open myself to the unexpected treasures happening all around me each day. Wonder is a precious gift, one I use to appreciate the marvels unfolding before me. Our affirmation: I view my life through eyes of wonder. Together, I view my life through eyes of wonder.
Whose hands are these? Whose feet are these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back into yours, beloved. Whose hands are these? Whose feet are these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back into ecstasy. I'm yours, beloved. I'm yours, beloved. Whose hands
We invite you to sing with us
are
if you want.
these? Whose feet are these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back into ecstasy. I'm yours, beloved. I'm yours, beloved. Whose hands are these? Whose feet are these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back into ecstasy. I'm yours, beloved. I'm yours, beloved. Whose hands are these? Whose feet are these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back into ecstasy. I'm yours, beloved. I'm yours, beloved. Whose hands are these? Whose feet are these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back into ecstasy. I'm yours, beloved. I'm yours, beloved. Whose hands are these? Whose feet are these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back into ecstasy. I'm yours, beloved. I'm yours, beloved. Whose hands are these? Whose feet are these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back. Let me hear you.
I fall back into ecstasy.
I'm yours.
I'm yours, beloved. I'm yours,
Whose hands are these?
beloved. Whose hands are these? Whose feet are
They're yours.
these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back into ecstasy. I'm yours, beloved. I'm yours, beloved.
Let us hear you.
Whose hands are these? Whose feet are these? They're yours, beloved. They're yours, beloved. I fall back into ecstasy. I'm yours, beloved. I'm yours, beloved.
Thank you for that beautiful song. Wow. So, for the 3 years that I've been doing this ministry of traveling around, about 5 times when I'm driving to wherever I'm going, I listen to a song from Fernando Ortega called Let the Words of My Mouth. 3 years of listening to the song, and what I found is the longer I listen to it, the less I listen to it. So I think I might have just found my replacement song. Thank you so much. That is a beautiful, beautiful song. Thank you to everyone who makes the services flow. Welcome to everyone. Carla, you are full of surprises. Many of you know Carla taught a number of my classes, 4 I think, when I was becoming a licensed Unity teacher. The first one was in a SEE setting, so it was 5 days in a row of 2.5 hours of class. And I thought, oh, look at all these people in the room. I won't have to talk. I can just sit on the back row and be quiet the entire time. And I got to Carla's class, and there were 3 of us. And you may know Carla doesn't let you just sit there and be quiet, so I got to talk quite a bit. But thank you. Bless you, my friend. We have remained friends. We have walked a path together, and I'm so grateful for that. So this morning, I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And I got a title with nothing else. That's usually kind of frustrating for me because type A, Enneagram 1, I want it all right now, please. So I came up with Grace, Please. So this morning we're going to talk about grace. And I know that grace is a part of the theme for your year, grace and gratitude. But I just want to look at that one part of it this morning, just that part on grace. So there are 3 definitions that I found. One is the very traditional one out of Western religions. It says the unmerited, undeserved, unearned kindness and favor of God. That's good. The second one I like, but it's more of what grace is and what we do with it than it is a definition, and it's divine enablement. And then the third one is my favorite. God realized, actualized, consciously expressed. God realized means we understand not only who God is, but who we are. Actualized, meaning that we can make this a part of who we are. It's something that we have achieved. Once we understand who we are, we have potential to do so much more when we know our power. We can move forward. And then consciously express means that we've purposely done something. So it pretty much takes us through all 5 of the unity principles at once. We start understanding who we are, knowing that God is and I am, and we end with living the truth that we know and that we understand. That's what grace is to me. I heard the story about Corrie ten Boom. When I was a kid and I was growing up in the Southern Baptist Church, we did an entire book story on her. Now, I don't know if you know who Corrie ten Boom is, but in World War II, she was a little kid, and her family would hide Jews in her home to keep them from being killed by the Nazis. So she did this with her family as a young girl, and then they got caught. And they were put into a concentration camp. And when they were in that concentration camp, they killed her father and her sister, and she watched them do it. And she saw all kind of horrible things that took place. So somebody asked her one day, because she accidentally got out, meaning a clerical error allowed her to leave the concentration camp. I don't believe in accidents, but okay. So there was an error that let her out, and she's now free. And as she grew up, she wrote and she talked about what it was like to be her then. And all she ever talked about was love and kindness and goodness. She never mentioned the bitterness that most of us probably would have felt. She never talked about the horrors that she saw, except in a way to explain how they had changed her life for the better. So people would ask her, how do you do that? How do you forgive the person who killed your family? How do you go ahead and move forward in love and in kindness throughout your life? And she told them a story about her dad. And she said when she was a little girl, she and her dad rode on the train all the time. That was their only way of getting around. But her dad kept both tickets. Because she was little, he didn't want to give her the ticket and her lose it before they got to the train or it go flying off. So he held on to it until he could see the light coming on the train. And when he could see the headlights, he would hand her her ticket so she could get on. And she told him that story, and she said, what I need you to understand is God gave me grace just like my dad gave me that ticket. When I needed it, it was there. And I assure you, according to her statement, God's grace is there to help you through any situation. I love that story, although I would probably disagree a little bit with how she worded it. Because I would say that grace is always with us. It's a part of us at our point of incarnation. It's a part of the powers. It's a part of who we are. Grace is here. The issue is we sometimes don't notice it. So when things are going great and everything's good, I don't need grace. I don't pay any attention to that. But get me in a mess, now I notice God's grace. And I think that's what she was talking about. The fact that when we can just be ourselves, when we can be calm and everything is going well, perhaps we don't see grace as easily as we do at other times. I found in my own life when I'm in the middle of that mess, then I'll notice the grace that's all around me. But again, when things are good, maybe I don't pay as much attention as I should to the things that are going on. Grace in the midst of struggle, I notice when I surrender. For a lot of us, that's a horrible word. If you grew up in a traditional religion, the word surrender might have meant something very different than I view it now. But for me, I look at Eckhart Tolle's version of surrender, where he says surrender is simply saying yes to life. By faith, I'm going to say yes to what's next in my life. Not a one of us knows what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen in 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. By faith, we step out to do what it is we know we're supposed to be doing. When I became an LUT, there was no sense in that. There was nothing logical about it. I wasn't going to make any money. I'm already a professor at a university at that point, and then I was an administrator. It wasn't going to add one thing to me other than it was mine to do, and I knew it was what I was supposed to be doing. And it's certainly taken me into a lot of wonderful places. But sometimes we don't notice what's working in us and what's going on. And when I think about the world that we live in and I look around at all the things that are happening and everything that's going on, I see a balance. I work with kids most of the day, young adults, and I see potential and great hope there. And then I also see a mess and a bunch of crazy. And that's just our world in general. Not just our country, it's everywhere. It's a mixture of all of those things. And I think that we're often looking for someone to blame. So because I work with kids, I keep up with quotes about young adults. I want to read you 3 of them. The first one says, "We live in a decaying age. Young people no longer respect their parents. They are rude and impatient. They frequently inhabit taverns and have no self-control." Second one, way older. "What is happening to our young people? They disrespect their elders. They disobey their parents. They ignore the law. They are out in the streets, inflamed and rioting with wild notions. Their morals are decaying. What is to become of them?" The third one, "The young people of today think nothing but themselves. They have no reverence for parents or old age. They are impatient of all restraint. As for the girls, they are forward, immodest, and unladylike in speech, behavior, and dress." The first quote was actually inscribed on a tomb in Egypt 6,000 years ago. The second one was from Plato. The third one was from about AD 1250. We're always looking for somebody to cast our stuff on. We always see that the ones below us, perhaps generationally, aren't quite as wonderful as we were. That golden age, which wasn't golden, it was quite tarnished. But we view it as a different thing, and we see others being very different. But then I have an almost 12-year-old where I see hope. I see the potential of what is there. I see his friends. I see all of those around him. I see all of those who are in the generations below me, which is many of you. And I understand that there is great potential and power there. But see, it's my job to give you grace, not to tell you everything you've ever done that's wrong. My job as an older person these days is to see the grace that is in this world and offer it to other people. We do it with our kids and our grandkids, but we need to do it with the world. I became a professor because I like young adults. I have this real sickness, I'm told, because what I like is teaching freshmen. 18, 19-year-olds, sometimes 17. It's my favorite. Even as I worked my way up and became a dean and then a vice president and then president of a university, I taught at least one class every semester. And I always taught freshmen because I see that hope and that potential that's there. I see what they can do. I see the power that they have. And I see that it's not my job to respond to them in ways of saying, well, this is what you've done and thus you're in trouble, as much as it is to say, here's grace. Let's move forward with what's next. I want to make sure that the kids I work with are moving forward and understand what grace is. Now, a lot of you work in higher ed too, and you know that there's things we cannot teach. Some of those are multiplying these days, but I'm not even talking about those. I can't teach unity principles and call them unity principles, and I don't ever use LUT or Reverend when I'm talking to kids. But I can teach them unity principles and them having no idea what it is we're talking about, which they will remember later on. My life is based on those principles, so that's what they're going to get. And for me, that is a part of the hope that's there. That is me imparting grace to them, showing them what's going to come up. Over the last few months, I've had some health issues. And a part of that has made me just be grumpy. I'm not sure if my family's online today, but they'll probably be typing in amen if they are. But when you get a little grumpy and you start being that way all the time, people look at you a little funny. And then I have to remind myself, you know, the place I'm supposed to exercise grace first is family. They're the ones who see me the most. They see me the most often. I need to be exercising that grace with them. And during this time period, I've also learned some other things. And I have this really big thing that I've been working on. You want to know what it is? I'm working on not expecting other people to be me. That's hard. 40 years of teaching, and I'm still not there. 28 years of living with the same person, and I'm still not there. I'm still in the process of trying to figure out exactly how I can be the best me and let you be the best you without my help. That's hard. Because if I could change all of you and make you just like me, what a boring world we would live in. You would all be sitting at home at night watching Netflix too, and there's bound to be more to life than that sometimes. So we need to allow people to be who they are and give them the grace to be who they are. And I don't care what you did before. I don't care what it is that you keep playing over and over in your head that tells you you're a horrible human. You're not. You are a child of God, and you deserve everything the universe has to offer you. We are perfect in the fourth dimensional realm. We are whole, we are complete. There is nothing about us that isn't perfect as we are. Now, on this earthly realm, we got work to do. And that's okay. That's why we're here, to do that work and to do the things that we need to do. But we need to stop expecting others to be us. Because as perfect as I'm sure I am, there are a lot of people who want me to change. And if they could, they would have done that already. So I need to let that go and give myself that grace as well as to other people. God realized, actualized, consciously expressed. Unity writer Apasia Hasbrook in the Handbook of Positive Prayer said, grace is not a special activity of God reserved for human emergencies. It is an omnipresent, and it is the principle which governs the cosmic process and as the cosmic process itself. God is always pouring out love and mercy. So who are God's representatives? We are. So we are to be pouring out love and mercy in all that we do, all day, all the time. Grace is a gift from the universe to every one of us. It's the opposite of work and effort. It's just here. We don't do anything to earn it or to deserve it. It's just a part of who we are. And for me, sometimes grace is about simply letting go. letting go of all the junk that's still in my life, put it aside and release it. But sometimes it's about letting go of what I think I want from a situation. Letting go of my specific outcome. This is the one thing in this situation that will make me happy, and I'm going to be upset if I don't get this one thing. Let it go. I said to Ryan earlier, in a lot of churches, I just say, welcome to my group therapy session. So, welcome to my group therapy session. Thank you for being here. These are things that I'm working on in my life, working on to let go of things and to find that grace. When I was a young adult, my grandmother and I decided to take a trip together. This was right before Alzheimer's kind of took over her mind. So we get in the car and we drive to Alabama, which is where all of her family lived. And we stay and we have a nice time together. And the morning we're supposed to go back to Georgia, it was snowing. And it was heavy snow. And I was in my late 20s and dumb as dirt and never seen snow of that kind ever. And Grandma and I decided, we're going to drive home. No big deal. We can handle snow, right? And it's Alabama going into Georgia. This stuff's going to melt. So we got in the car. By the time we were halfway into Columbus, Georgia, that snow had turned to ice. And I hit a patch of ice. And the car starts spinning. And I didn't know what to do. So I turned my wheel the opposite way of what I now know I should have done. And the car just kept on spinning. And the best I could do was what my mother and grandmother taught me. I put my arm out to hold my grandmother in the car, like she was going to go sailing out the door or something. I'm not sure where we thought that was a good idea, but we all do it. So I'm trying to hold Grandma still in the car, and we're twirling. And finally, she said to me, take your hands off the steering wheel and let it go. So I did. The car stopped spinning. It slid over to the side of the road. We did hit a cement barrier. But the good thing was that barrier was covered with ice and snow. So it was kind of a soft landing, if you will. So we get out of the car. We see there's a flat tire. I look up, and right at the off-ramp that we were next to was a car repair place and a hotel. So I drove the car. I probably didn't mention it was my dad's car, so there was a little trepidation and fear in that part. We drove the car up there, left it, and parked. And I felt sure when I called my parents, no cell phones then, that it was not going to be a lovely conversation. My parents showed me what grace is all about. You're okay. Your grandmother's okay. We can fix a car. It wasn't the reaction I expected, but it was exactly what I should have expected based on knowing my parents. They showed me grace in that situation. But what I learned mostly was it worked when I let go. When I listened to my grandmother and let go of that steering wheel and quit trying to fix it, then that grace was easier for me to see and easier for things to work out. Grace expresses itself in most of us when we need it the most. With Corrie ten Boom, that grace was there. With all of us, that grace is there. And sometimes I think, as I said, that we just don't notice it. Lowell Fillmore, one of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore's son, said, remember that the grace of God is God's love in action. God's grace is unlimited and so wonderful that words can scarcely describe it. We can use such words as mercy, forgiveness, compassion, goodwill, kindness, inspiration, and generosity to describe God's grace, but they are hardly adequate to cover the fullness of its meaning. Mercy, forgiveness, compassion, goodwill, kindness, inspiration, generosity. That is grace. And that is what we are called to share with those around us. Grace is that pure, unconditional love of God, perpetually flowing out into the world through each one of us. We have to first understand that we deserve it. We deserve everything that comes along in this universe that is good because we are the children of God. We have to understand that we need to give grace to ourselves and to other people. And I want to mention the word favor for just a second because a lot of people say the word favor when they're talking. I listened to the ESPY Awards not long ago and I heard about favor 1,000 times. So let me just say that God is principle. God doesn't change. God offers favor to every one of us, and we have that when we come into this earth as well. God does not favor one person more than another person. He is not a respecter of persons. God does not favor one sports team over another. Pray all you want that your team wins. It's not how it works. Grace is there. Grace is around us, and God is principle. So that grace is available to each and every one of us all the time. The story of the prodigal son, you may remember Luke 15, 11 through 32. The younger son is bored at home. I'm sure we've never had kids like that. Wants to do something different, wants to leave, wants to go out on his own. So he asked the father, "Can I have my inheritance now?" I'm thinking if I asked my dad that, I might not have gotten the same grace I got when I wrecked the car. But this dad said, "Sure, no problem. Here's your money." The youngest kid left. The older kid stays behind and continues to work. And the young kid spends and blows all of that money to the point that he finds himself, it says in the actual scripture itself, living worse than the hogs on his father's farm. So he decides after a while, I'm just going to give it up and go ask for my father's forgiveness and tell him I'll work as one of the slave hands on the field. So he goes, and instead his father is looking for him. And he sees him coming, and he runs to him and welcomes him home and gives him love and gives him the grace of understanding exactly what is happening in his world and says, "I love you, and all is well." I like that part of the affirmation too. All is well. So this young son received the father's grace. Now the older son is not very happy because he's been doing all the work. He didn't get his inheritance early, and he's kept up and kept his father's farm going. And the father went to him and said, "You are my oldest child. I love you. Everything I have goes to you." Showing that son grace as well. So this father, with two very different situations, has been able to show grace to his kids. I challenge us this week to think about the grace that is out there in the world, to think about the grace that we've been shown and how we can show that grace to others. To just think for a moment about what it is each of us can do to be God realized, actualized, and consciously expressed. In a world that's questioning and hurting, we can be the love and the grace that this world needs. I invite you now just to take a couple of deep breaths as we go into a time of meditation. You are centered as a child of God. You are aligned as a child of God. And I invite you now just to take a moment to breathe deeply. Feel that breath going in and out, acknowledging that you don't even have to think about it. You're going to breathe. Just continuously breathe. Think about that. Think about who you are. Set an intention for offering grace to everyone that you come into contact with this week. There's a meme that reminds us that we never know what other people are dealing with and facing. And that based on that, we should always be kind. That is us offering grace to people. I don't need to know your situation or what's going on. I am here to offer you grace and love. In a difficult situation, in a tense encounter, in the midst of a hard-to-have conversation, we always have the ability and the opportunity to offer grace. Something as simple as a compliment, a smile, a hug, a card, a gift, a listening ear. Simple ways that we can offer grace to others. God realized, actualized, consciously expressed. As we enter a moment of silence, I invite you to consider, how might you show grace to those around you and to those strangers that you'll come into contact with this week. Join me now in a moment of silence. We return to our intention to show love and grace to everyone that we see, starting with our family and moving outward. And so it is.
So much, Hank. Thank you so much. Grace. What we're going to do is we're going to continue our service in the spirit of giving. So we understand that giving is not just money, it's our time, it's our service. And so what we want to do is we want to take those spiritual gifts, those physical gifts, those monetary gifts, wherever they are. If they're in the check form, we're going to have a QR code here in a moment that you'll be able to, bring it up on your phone. But we're going to take the concentration of that offering and place your hands over your heart. And we're going to say this affirmation together. Divine love expressed in me, through me, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Can we leave that up real quick, Alejandro? Let's consider what we just said. Divine love expressed in me, through me, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I love what Hank said, that you hear the song and it just, okay. And often we say this, but imagine that divine love expressing in me, as me, through me. That's powerful. That's an offering. That's an offering. Speaking of offerings, we're going to play a little music because we got the kiddos coming. I don't see them, but I'm sure they'll march down the hall. Okay, so we're going to frolic as they come. Miss Gwen in the house. What's up?
Phew. This is my buddy Nathan, who's been coming since he was about Kenya's size, I think. He's going into 9th grade this school year, and Valerie and Victoria in Kenya. Today we saw some more of Nemo, the movie, Finding Nemo, and we found out that they had a lot of fears. Daddy had a lot of fears for Nemo, and he didn't want him to do anything or go anywhere. Sound familiar when your kid starts to drive? Well, we found out they worked through their fears. And so we didn't have time. You didn't talk long enough today. We didn't we had, this was our fears, and we were going to bust through our fears. Victoria, you want to do that? Okay, come on. Just bust through. All right. When we use our words and our mind, we can face our fears just like Nemo and his dad Marlin.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Gwen. We're going to have our affirmation here in a moment, but we're going to rub our hands together, and I want you to imagine all the children, both here, home, neighborhood children, children of the world. We are all children. All right, here we go. Children, we love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we see the Christ presence within you. We love you. We love you. We really, really love you. All right.
We also have Allie and Blake at home in Brownsville, Texas, but they're here today.
Hey, Allie, Blake, we love you. All right, everybody, we're going to get in our community circle.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there
Usual way doesn't work anymore. There's no map for what life has in store. What